For Black History Month, I am excited to introduce our guest for the month. She is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, my soror, and the Congresswoman from New York's 9th Congressional District, Yvette Clarke. Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month, Jennifer.
We're going to have fun, but for Black History Month, I want to talk about how you are an incredible part of Black history in your own right. But if you could meet any figure in Black history, who would it be?
It would be Harriet Tubman.
Why?
She was such an extraordinary person when you think about how she overcame adversity, and I mean extreme adversity, from her own sort of health challenges. She was struck by her slave master, and that made her go into these sleeping spells, to her leading people, to freedom. I believe 30 different times that she went back and forth. She became a spy for the Union Army, and then just went on to live her life in New York at one point. And just her story is just amazing. She thought, that it was not enough for her to save herself, but that she would go back time and time again, first to rescue her family, and then others who were seeking freedom during a period of time in our nation's history where that was like extremely, extremely risky to do. Her yearning for freedom was contagious, and she was able to encourage others. I believe at the end of it all, she brought over 300 people into freedom.
Yeah, and before she was Elphaba, Cynthia Erivo played her in a movie that was filmed in Virginia, in Richmond, and so everybody should watch that movie. It's really,
absolutely
really great.
Learn something more about Harriet Tubman, more beyond what I think we're typically taught in school about who she was and her character.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're not taught very much in school about Black history. We're trying to change that. So you are the proud daughter of Jamaican immigrants, and you grew up in an incredibly multicultural community in Brooklyn and in New York City at large. How does your cultural perspective and heritage influence your work today in Congress?
So there are a number of ways in which I believe it impacts my work in Congress. First of all, knowing that my parents immigrated from from Jamaica to the United States in the 1950s. And when they came to the United States, they weren't necessarily known as Jamaicans. They were known as subjects of the Queen, because Jamaica was a colony. It had not received independence yet. But they knew who they were.
Yeah.
They had a certain pride about themselves and built a community around us of godparents, extended family, others who came from the Caribbean region, as well as our longtime stakeholders, our friends, our neighbors, folks who had migrated from the South to the North and were living in the neighborhood. And so my aperture for understanding people's lived experiences was shaped to a large extent by my own household.
Yeah.
I know my mom used to say she came to the United States and she didn't have a map. She just had 2 suitcases. And so navigating all of the systems was a major part of how we became Americans.
Yeah.
I was born in Brooklyn, so you can tell by my accent.
Yes.
But, it was in pursuit of an American dream that my parents had.
And your mom was a history maker in her own right. Talk a little bit about that and how she influenced you.
Absolutely. My mom was the first foreign-born woman to be elected to the New York City Council.
Wow.
And that was part of what shaped me, but I think it was more of her organizing, advocacy, her political acumen, her giving of herself. Because my mom started, of course, very humble beginnings, both my parents. But what they did was they enriched and valued the lives of my brother and I by what they engaged in. So whether it was just a block party and organizing for that, my mom was the block association president forever. then she would become, the PTA president forever.
Yeah.
And, it was just those little sort of units of unity and organizing that ultimately, I think, led to her ultimately seeking electoral office. But I was the witness to it all.
Yeah.
I was that kid when she was a part of the daycare movement that went with her on all the trips to Albany, New York to seek daycare because she didn't have childcare. I was in all the meetings with her when people were organizing for the educational enrichment of the children of our community because I had to be in the room when they were organizing because she didn't have a babysitter or she couldn't afford a babysitter or she just, there was no childcare.
Yeah.
And so seeing her giving of herself in that way, being of service to others, was the way I was raised. So I was that kid in the corner with the crayons, listening to the adult conversations, but being forewarned that children are to be seen and not heard in these spaces. So my ears were like, oh, if they don't want to hear me, then I want to hear them.
That's right.
It piqued my interest. And ultimately, I think that was the substance that I gained from my mom and the people around her, the village, if you will,
Oh, wow.
that raised the child. And then when she decided to run for office, it was like, wow, this is the culmination of all of the relationships that she had established throughout my formative years, and it's coming together with everyone coming together, the diversity of our communities to elect her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We are both members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Yes.
What has been the most impactful part of being a Delta for you?
There are three things. One, the sisterhood. So I'm one of two kids, and my sibling is a boy or young man. Not so young anymore, but male.
Yes.
And I never had sisters. And I always wanted sisters. I used to cry to my mom, why didn't you make a sister for me? Why don't you make a sister for me? So I always always wanted that bond with, having a sister. I associated with that. So that is part of it. The sisterhood, meeting women with, common goals, common visions, has been a major, major part of why I love Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. The service.
Yes.
Being able to see the plight of my neighbors and be able to tend to it in real time with sisters who feel the same way, the love for the communities that we're raised in, that we live in, and giving of ourselves in service. And then social action. We don't take no junk. And that's why, it's an empowerment that comes from being involved as a soror in Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. It's a moment like this when you understand the intrinsic value of what our founders did in marching in the women's suffrage movement, when, quite frankly, the folks who organized it didn't even want them there.
That's right.
We just show up.
That's right.
And do what we have to do.
And it was our first public act.
Yes.
Not, I think, barely 2 months after we'd been founded. And to me, that just is the epitome of Delta Sigma Theta.
Absolutely.
And we're continuing to fight to preserve the right to vote that they helped us to win.
Absolutely.
So as chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, you are on the front lines in the fight against the Trump administration and our colleagues on the other side of the aisle to roll back progress, whether it's voting rights, teaching our history, access to healthcare, everything. Can you, talk a little bit about your approach to the caucus and how you are approaching this moment and staying sane in this moment?
Yeah. Again, I think you sort of set up our conversation in a sequential manner that brings me to why I think that being chair of the Congressional Black Caucus was a calling for me, particularly in this moment. It's knowing that we have the largest number of CBC members in the history of the United States Congress, 4 of whom on the United States Senate, and have unique powers unto themselves. And then just the diversity of the Congressional Black Caucus. People, for whatever reason, see Black communities as monolithic, when we're extremely diverse and given our lived experiences. I mean, to have a colleague from Oregon, I could have never imagined. A colleague from Rhode Island, I could have never imagined, and everywhere in between. And their unique lived experiences, their engagement with their constituencies uniquely positions us to talk to people across the spectrum, across socioeconomic levels, across racial, religious boundaries, and bring a moral compass to those conversations that help us in a moment like this. And so having been in those meetings where folks were organizing for progress, I've seen the tools utilized. And my whole thing is, if I can support colleagues and if I can get colleagues to support other colleagues in this moment, when we're all under extreme pressure, when we're all feeling as though we're under siege, and we come out of this unified and prepared for the long haul to do the type of legislative work that we need to do to rebuild, not only for our communities, but I see it as for a civil society that had not fully embraced our contributions. We're on the right track, not only for this generation, but future generations to come. And so I'm the major motivator. I'm there to encourage people, notwithstanding what's going on, and to maximize on their talents. We have such talented colleagues from every walk of life. A lot of attorneys.
Yes.
A lot of attorneys, and that's helpful in this moment, definitely.
Yes.
But we have doctors, we have activists, we have folks from the broader spectrum, activists, and all of that comes together as a reflection of what the American dream can produce and how we use those talents to lead our people forward.
Now, we are also both on the Energy and Commerce Committee, on the Communications and Technology Subcommittee, and you have really led the way on AI policy. And like any tool, AI can be very helpful, very useful, but it can also be very harmful. So talk about how you try to strike that balance to make sure that AI is a useful tool and not a harmful tool.
Yeah, I look at AI as something that is critical for our communities in particular to be engaged in, and the nation. And we're already here. But what's so significant about sort of the evolution of the internet, if you will, is that it could be and should be a great equalizer, so that artificial intelligence really comes from the aggregation of all of our intelligence.
Yes.
But it's never given sort of that characterization. I back up a bit because I recognize that it's all about the algorithm.
Yes.
And people have jumped from the algorithm to AI, but without the algorithm, AI doesn't exist.
That's right.
And if that algorithm is biased, then we could be baking into civil society during this technological era a lot of the challenges that we have faced in the physical real world into our sort of virtual world and how we live it. And so I, just by virtue of understanding how our own knowledge can be weaponized against us, felt it was important that, one, I stay abreast of what's happening in that space, but also that I break it down for individuals who may not recognize that, who have the tool of a mobile device, give it all their information, and don't realize that that information is being converted from what they are constantly fed through their algorithms into what ultimately is being aggregated by tech companies that ultimately become artificial intelligence.
Right, that they make money off of.
That they make money off of.
That's right, that's right. So you are now, I'm at the beginning of my service. You are more of a veteran. What is a piece of advice that you would give your freshman self as a member of Congress?
continue to follow your passion. I've always been sort of a policy nerd, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I realized that it was the policies that were developed by members of Congress, members of state legislatures, members of municipal legislative bodies that made it possible for me to get a quality education in public schools in New York City, that made it possible for my parents to become citizens of the United States, that made it possible for them to access the financing they need to purchase a home to raise my brother and I in. And if we can establish policies like that, that better people's lives, there's so much more work that can be done. I'm a beneficiary of the civil rights era. Recognize that, born in the wake of it all. But there was so much more work to be done, you know, and there's so much that I believe this generation owes to future generations. That being in a space where that policy is being derived is just a joy for me.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoy it. I mean, it's a battle right now
It is,
because there are people who resent all of the progress that communities like mine, like yours, have made in America. But that's their issue.
Yeah.
I have to be focused on what I can do to make sure that that next little girl sitting in the room when they're cooking up the issues on the grassroots level has every opportunity to make it to the halls of Congress or wherever her talents take her.
So, and we have, you know, very long days, sometimes late nights, in the case of one of our hearings, over 26 hours.
Yes.
And it's sometimes heavy. What do you do when you're back home? What do you do to decompress?
I listen to a lot of music. I'm a Spotify person. No shade to the other platforms. I also watch television.
Yeah.
I'm a TV baby. I was born, you know, during that era. So, but now with streaming, there's so many good
many
programs.
things. Yeah.
And you know, it gives you an opportunity to just sort of, you know, get away from the harshness of the news, the grind of the news every day, and just, you know, fantasize a bit about, you know, what life can be like in other people's creative minds.
What are you streaming right now?
So I recently started looking at, what is the name of this program? There's so many shows out there now. I mean, I've got Amazon Prime, I've got, you know, all these different, but I'm trying to, I do a lot of sci-fi.
Okay.
That's my favorite genre, hence the AI business and all of that.
So Star Wars or Star Trek?
I'm Star Trek.
Okay. All right.
I'm a Star Trek. That was initial, right? But I can get into Star Wars too.
I like them both.
I can get into Dune, you know, all of that stuff.
Good. So, well, I'm watching Bridgerton right now.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know the
So,
new episode just started.
Yes. So, and I'm debating whether to go back and read the books because they're based on books, and
Yes.
you get a lot more in the books.
Exactly.
What gives you hope?
The young people in our society.
Yeah.
They are just so on top of things and not as encumbered. Let me qualify this. Being a New Yorker, you get to see sort of a far more multicultural blend of young people who support one another. And you know, the ability for sort of that next generation, you know, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, to sort of shock absorb what is taking place right now, not lose their joy in the midst of it, and navigate life with one another, understanding that, you know, they can make a difference, makes it's uplifting for me.
Yeah.
Some of them, you know, they're drag, but to a large extent, I found that their type of engagement with one another brings hope to a society that is reflective of who they are.
Yeah.
And they live into their lived experiences unapologetically And I'm like, go for it. Yes, that's important.
There you go. There you go. So if you could take any 3 members of Congress on a long weekend trip in your district, who would you take and what would you
Oh my
make
goodness.
them see?
3 members of
Yeah.
Congress? Just 3?
I'll
I'd take
give
the
you
whole
4.
CBC.
Okay. All right. But where would you take us? What would we see in your district?
You would see the Botanical Gardens.
Yes.
You would see the Brooklyn Museum. You would see the Barclay Center. My district has a lot of sort of the cultural organizations resident in it. But then I would take you to Little Pakistan. I would take you to the Little Caribbean. I'll take you to the Little Ukraine.
Sounds like there's be a lot of good food in
Oh, the food. I tell people, you could have 3 meals a day, 365, and never go to the same restaurant twice.
Yeah, my district's the same. Yours probably a little more diverse food options.
Yes.
So what would surprise people about you?
I'm left-handed.
Oh, okay.
I'm left-handed. Everybody assumes everybody's right-handed.
That's true.
Some people
That's
have to
true.
be lefty.
Yes, that's
And that's
absolutely
me.
right. All right, so we're going to do some lightning round, fun questions so people can get to know the real Yvette Clarke. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Your favorite musician?
Oh, my God. Prince.
Me too. Favorite movie?
There are just so many movies that Cornbread Earl and Me.
Okay. Favorite food?
Wow, that I'm not a foodie.
Okay.
What do they say? I eat to live. I don't live to eat.
Okay,
But
that's fair.
fried chicken every day, all day, I could do it.
Favorite spot to visit in your district?
Oh boy,
It's a hard one.
that is a hard one. There are just so many wonderful places. I have to say, going home
Okay.
is a favorite spot.
Text or talk?
Talk.
Okay. What is a favorite place you've traveled?
Greece.
Oh, wow. I bet that was cool. Favorite superhero?
Wonder Woman. Come on.
Favorite villain?
Joker.
Okay. Yeah, he's scary. And favorite Star Trek character?
Lieutenant Uhura. Come
Of course. DC or Marvel?
Marvel.
Good. You have lots to choose from. So, what do you hope that your legacy will be when you leave Congress?
That I made a difference in the lives of the people of the 9th District of New York. I know that's pretty big, but my goal was always to see progress. I tell people living in Central Brooklyn, and Central Brooklyn has changed dramatically since I was elected to Congress. I mean, dramatically. It was always about paying it back to all of those neighbors who helped raise me, that my mom would leave me at their house when she had to run to a meeting or what have you, and paying it forward to their grandchildren that are now moving back to the district.
Yeah.
You know, making a difference, making it possible for them to have the pathways and corridors that they need to be successful in America. And one of those areas for me has always been comprehensive immigration reform. I've tried every single Congress to try to get that done. And I hope that what we're experiencing right now will express to colleagues on both sides of the aisle the urgency with which we need to take that very seriously for the 21st century.
We definitely do. Well, it has been a pleasure to have you on Moments with McClellan. I enjoy serving with you, both in Congress and with the Congressional Black Caucus and leadership. And I wish you a happy February, happy Black History Month, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and it's wonderful to be here on McClellan's Moments, especially in the centennial year of Black History Month.
That's right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Tune in next month. It's Women's History Month, so we'll have to have a special guest for you then as well. Take care.